Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. I am still Cedric in Antwerp and today we are gonna have a beer for a good cause, and I know many people like to laugh with this, but today it's true. We are actually drinking for a good cause. I bought this beer from a brewery called Beer for Nature, and yeah, that pretty much sums up what they stand for. It's a rather young brewery. It's a brewery with not that much history. They've only existed for 2 years right now. And actually their story started in 2017, in June actually, 2017, so almost to the date 5 years ago, when 3 friends, Kevin, Jeroen and Pieter, from Mol in the Kempen in Antwerp, which is a very rural area, a very green area, the guys were talking, and the 3 of them combine a passion for beer, but also a passion for nature, a passion for sports and stuff. And I can relate to those guys because I'm an avid rock climber and a mountain hiker. So I'm actually very glad that they do this. And they noticed that there were a lot of forests in their neighborhood that weren't protected or were very poorly managed or were on the brink of being sold, and who knows to whom. So the idea sprouted that maybe in some way they could find funds to buy those forests and to manage them themselves. Combined with their passion for beer, they talked about it some more and they attended a brewing school. And somewhere late 2019, November 2019, first steps were taken to actually start a microbrewery. And from then on, things went pretty fast. For example, I'll just sum a few things up. In 2020, so they started in November 2019, but in January 2020, their first beer was brewed. It was called Hert. Hert is Flemish for deer, but also Kempisch dialect for hard. They say je gaat hert of je gaat niet. And that means as much as go hard or don't go at all. Whereas in English we say go hard or go home. Yeah. They say go hard or just don't start. Then in March, Beer for Nature as a company was officially born. Suddenly it was a thing. The 3 guys had a company and they could brew away. A few months later, in June, they added a second beer to the portfolio called the Toucan, and you'll notice that they give most of their beers animal names. Toucan is a summery, citrusy blonde fermented with a champagne yeast. Again, a bit later, in August, a TV program called The Kempen started. The Kempen is a project by social worker and musician and tattoo artist Thijs van Neste, a guy that I'm actually a fan of. I admire the guy. He played in metal bands, he plays folk, he's a tattoo artist, he was a teacher, he's a social worker, and he's generally a guy with a heart in the right place, and I think his heart is like this huge. The Kempen is again a wordplay. It combines de Kempen, the neighborhood, and camping. And that was a social project where he would start a camping with a friend for a few weeks during the summer. And all the work is done by people that have been out of work for a long time, for whatever reason. Now, they brewed their own beer, or no, they actually had Beer for Nature brew their own beer for the camping, and we will be talking about that in a few episodes because I have that one in the fridge as well. And with the camping, you supported 2 good causes. So, again, Kevin, Jeroen, and Peter also have the heart at the right place. Then come winter, in October, Het Voske, the beer that we're gonna try now, was added to the portfolio, and with that they closed 2020 off. Now in 2020 they brewed 10,000 liters of beer, or 100 hectoliters of beer, and sold every drop of it. Then 2021 came, and yeah, things even went faster for the guys. For example, they tenfolded their brewing, and they sold, so they brewed 110,000 liters, or 1100 hectoliters, and of that 820 hectoliters was sold, and a bit more is still aging and experimenting and whatever they're doing with it. So in 2020, in March, they actually struck a deal with Prik en Tik, and Prik en Tik is one of the largest drinks providers in Belgium nationwide. I actually go there quite often. And in April, they sent in 2 of their beers, the Toucan and Hert, the 2 first beers they had. And actually they sent it in as a test for themselves, just to see which feedback they would get. And lo and behold, they sent it into a London beer competition and immediately won double silver. 1 month later, in May, the Toucan also won gold at the European Beer Challenge. So yeah, they must have paid attention in brewing school. Also in May of that year, again they brewed a summery beer, and this time it's the Flamingo, the nice pink and proud animal. Why the Flamingo? Because it was a raspberry flavored beer. So the Toucan was a citrusy beer, now they have a raspberry flavored beer. Yeah, a lot of things kept happening in 2021. In September they organized their first Kempische beer trail, so a trail run throughout the woods and the forests of Mol and Bala in Geel. And they never stopped organizing things, because they also manage a pop-up bar for families in a nature reserve. They succeeded in buying 2 forests already, I think maybe even 3 to date, at least 2 that I'm sure of, 1 in Mol, 1 in Geel. And they manage it well. They aim for families, they aim for people that love hiking and sporting in nature. So the future is green. Now about this beer, this is called het Voske. Why het Voske? Because it should be a reddish brown beer, and they actually describe it as Voske is a fox, as you can see on the label. I will put an enlarged version up there. A fox is a beautiful, majestic animal. It's playful, it's gracious, it has a quirky character, and that is sort of how they see this beer. It's supposed to have a reddish, let's say gingery color, because they combine Pils malts and caramel malts. And there's also something funky, quirky going on with the yeast, because they used a lambic yeast. What does that mean? Well, we'll find out in a moment, but that should mean it has a very unique flavor palette, and it has that fresh acidity, that slight sourness in the throat. So let's see where this goes. Also, I must say, I love their labels. Again, a very beautifully painted fox. On the back they have some text, but also a paw print, and it's a young brewery, and they try to skimp on cost, so they can put as much money as they can into their forest. For example, they don't pay out any profits to themselves. They put everything into the forest and the woods. But for example, they don't use branded bottle caps. They do pay attention to detail, because with the Fox, an orange cap is used. At the camping, they have a gold colored cap. Other beers have a yellow or a black cap. So they do pay attention, but of course a single colored bottle cap doesn't cost more than another one. It's the printing that costs a lot of money. So let's open this bad boy up and see what gives. I immediately notice that it's an active beer. Oh, there she goes. We have a runner. An active beer in that way that it immediately goes and not, for example. A lovely aroma. Quite soft in the nose, very malty. Yeah, slightly sour, but actually more like sour candies or sour fruits. Honestly, I would not call this reddish brown. That's the first thing that I notice. For me, this is a pretty much a golden yellow, maybe a bit orangey Pilsner color. It's beautiful though, but it's not red or brown. It has a beautiful head of foam, very dense foam, some nice bubbles, some lovely pearls in there. Bear in mind, by the way, that these are not engraved glasses, so all the pearling you see is natural. It does have a very fresh aroma, very full. A slight tingling in the nose, I like that. I'm very curious what the lambic yeast did with this beer. By the way, it's a 5.3% ABV, so a nice replacement for a Pilsner. A nice light beer. And even though it smells a bit herbal, no herbs were added to this beer. Okay, interesting. First thing that comes to mind is, and I try to say this as respectful as possible, but not that special. The initial taste, it's actually, it tastes like a lovely Pilsner beer, but not the one in, or the 13 in a dozen Pilsners. It's a bit drier. It's very well fermented. It leans a bit to like a farmhouse ale or a saison, but very, very light. It's a lot thinner in the mouthfeel. So when I say not that special, I just mean the wow factor isn't that high. That being said, I still have a nice centimeter of foam. It has a very dry aftertaste. You guys know by now that I love dry aftertaste. I love dry beers. It is slightly more bitter. I would love to know how many Play-Dohs this beer has, because I don't think that there's a lot of sugar left in there. So when I look at the ingredients, I see barley and wheat malt. That might be a reason for the mouthfeel, because I say it tastes rather thin, and by that I mean light, but the mouthfeel is actually pretty full. The scent is also very refreshing, very fresh. I smell a lot of carbon dioxide, but also the malt, slightly yeasty hints, and I get a tiny hint of acidity in the nose, like I said, some dried red fruits or some sour candies, but I can't find that in the taste anywhere. I mean, there is a slight sour edge, but that's more because of how dry the beer is. So initially I said not that special. On the other hand, I hear myself talking for 3 minutes, and apparently there are some special notes to this beer. I think it's quite a bit more complex than it initially seems. Now, honestly, I forgot at what price point this beer is, but I would see me and my friends replace a crate of Jupiler or Stella Artois by this for example, a barbecue. I think, again, as many dry beers, well fermented beers, I think this would be awesome with marinated meat or barbecued meat, something with a lot of herbs. I'm thinking also fish, like, yeah, maybe not a ceviche, but if you, yeah, maybe a ceviche with some dill or something, or a papillote with some thyme. I would see this fit perfectly. Anything that's very herbal. Honestly, what springs to mind right now is rack of lamb with some thyme, rosemary, maybe a bit of honey, some sage, and then potato wedges, and this with that. Some nice garlic butter or herbal butter. Yeah, and this beer. So anything herbal, maybe some, can I say, greasy food, and I don't mean fast food or pizza, but I do mean like the better quality meats and herbal dishes. Okay, I'm gonna leave you guys with that. Again, I forgot what the price point was for this beer. I can't imagine it being very expensive, because probably I wouldn't have bought it then. But if you find one of these or any beers from Beer for Nature, you'll probably have to find them in Belgium. So if you're ever in Belgium, find a Prik en Tik, find Beer for Nature, and try out their beers. I guarantee you'll have awesome beers. If they're all like this, yeah, they're all awesome. And you're supporting a good cause with it as well. You are securing forests and woods. You are supporting nature. So, yeah, what's not to like? Have a great beer and feel good while doing it. As usual, if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments. If you have any remarks, let me know. Same place. If you like this video, hit like. Yeah, that helps the algorithm. If you want to see more, I have a fuck ton of playlists and videos. I think this will be my 55th video, 54th video. Yeah. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, and you'll get notified when I upload something. And then I'll see you guys again on Wednesday. Cheers, you guys.